Welcome to another eLead video from Student Activities and Involvement. Today's topic is building a constitution that works for your organization. Constitutions are the foundation of organizations and are essential for the fair treatment of its members while giving them power in the group. A constitution guides an organization by laying out the framework for how it will operate. Organizations should do their best to closely follow their constitution or change if it does not reflect current practices. In addition, orgs should follow their constitution because they help protect its members from falling into certain legal trouble as well. UW-Whitewater requires organizations to have a current copy of their constitution on file with student activities and involvement. A constitution should either be updated or ratified at least every 5 years. Your constitution should be a document containing an outline of an organization's missions, positions within the organization, and the governing procedures. UW-Whitewater also expects your group to include a non-discriminatory statement. The Constitution also establishes how changes are to be made in the organization and who can make these changes and how changes are officially approved. Some key terms to know before we get started are quorum, which is the minimum number of members required in order to make any decisions or actions during a meeting valid. Normally, officers are the leaders of an organization. Each officer is tasked with their own specific duties as outlined in the Constitution. The executive board, sometimes referred to as the E-board, is the team that makes up the organization's leadership. This body is often allowed to make certain decisions on behalf of the entire organization. An amendment is a change to the Constitution. Bylaws are any rules made by the organization for its members to follow. A majority means that more than 50% of the voting population has to be there. Organizations can require different majorities to be met for different decisions. For instance, if an organization wants to add a new officer position to the executive board, it may require a 2/3 majority vote and require a quorum of 15 members. So at least 2/3 of 15 or 10 members would have to vote in favor of the thing. Ratifying something means to officially approve an amendment or the Constitution overall. And then there's also a difference of national versus local. Campus groups belonging to a larger organization may have rules and expectations to follow in order to belong to the larger organization or on a national level. So constitutions in this case may consist of a combined document that includes both the national and local expectations, or separate documents for the national and its local chapter as well. So moving into more of an outline, Article 1 should include the name of your organization. The name of your organization should reflect its purpose so people can find it easily. Groups will often do acronyms such as Students Allied for a Greener Earth is called SAGE. It's also obviously cannot already be used by another organization on campus. And lastly, it must be something appropriate as this is a public institution. You want your name to be something that you'd be proud of to list on a resume and comfortable with the chancellor announcing at an event. Moving on to Article 2. Article 2 should encompass the purpose of your organization. The purpose statement of your organization should be a short 2 to 3 sentence snapshot of what your organization does, what people will do in the org, and what you want to accomplish. An example of this is from the forensics team, and their purpose is the purpose of the team is to represent UW-Whitewater at collegiate speech tournaments, enhance student learning, positively represent UW-Whitewater, and increase the satisfaction of each student's collegiate experience. So that is a great example of what a mission statement and purpose statement can look like. Article 3 outlines your membership. So here's a few quick questions to ask in order to help establish what should be in this article. You should ask yourself who will be involved in the organization. Is it open to just Whitewater students, or will you be reaching out to the community to join in? How does someone know they are a member? This can be a difficult piece for organizations to assess, and there is often gray area. Do your best to think this through. Examples of how others handle membership status is by number of attended meetings or paying the dues. It's all up to you. Does your org charge membership fees or dues? What do members get if they pay these dues? Also ask yourself, do you plan to use an application form? If you do, make sure you don't violate all comers law. Also ask, what are benefits of being an organization? Usually this means members can get t-shirts, rights to vote, ability to run for leisure positions, rights to attend certain events, etc. Another important thing is that the University of Wisconsin-Whitewater requests you to place a non-discrimination statement in your constitution as an indication your organization does not illegally discriminate. The non-discrimination statement provided by UW-Whitewater is found in the resources of this UCAST and of this e-lead and successfully covers identities like gender, age, and those that are protected by law. Moving into Article 4. Article 4 will outline your organizational leadership, also known as your officer's position. Often, organizations will have leadership positions, each with their own specific responsibilities. Typical positions include president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer. However, your organization can do things differently and call the positions whatever it wants. The larger organizations will have 2 to 3 members work with the officers in their own separate committees. Your leadership positions are what makes up the executive board, often referred to as the E-board. Other things to consider regarding leadership positions are terms of office. How long will they serve in this role? Usually 1 semester a year, but it's up to you. Functions of the role. Explain the responsibilities of the role and make sure they are specific enough to avoid overlap. When are the elections for these positions? Do they happen in the fall, in the spring, early, beginning, end of the semester? Who is eligible to run for office? How long should they be a member for before they run? How many semesters must they have been at Whitewater before they can run? Are there any other qualifications? There is a campus policy saying that all leadership needs to come from Whitewater and can be current students. You should also make sure to include how to remove these officers if they need to be removed, and what is the procedure for removal from this office. Article 5 discusses the election of organizational leadership or election of officers. This should be thought of along with the leadership roles, specifically how each position is elected, how one runs for a elected position, when are the elections held, what is the voting procedure, what do you do with a tie, and what is quorum and majority for these elections. Article 6 discusses meetings and quorum. This is where you outline how often your organization meets. If you want, you can also choose when your organization will meet each week. For instance, WSG's constitution state it must meet every Monday night at 7 p.m. Additionally, you can include who's eligible to call a meeting. WSG has a piece that states how many members need to be present in order to conduct any business. For example, if the org has 20 active members and at least 40% of the members need to be at the meeting in order to conduct business, then at least 8 members out of the 20 need to be there. This is why it's important to consider who is actually classified as a member and establish certain criteria for this. You also want to consider what will the organization do if they do not have enough people attending the meeting. Is business allowed to happen, or do people just get updates and nothing else? In Article 7, you should lay out what responsibilities your advisor is expected to uphold. Organizations are required to have a university employee serve as an advisor to the group. You can also lay out the responsibilities of the advisory role in this article. Article 8 should cover your rules regarding amendments. An amendment is a change or alteration to the Constitution and should always be documented. Over time, things change and organizations will often find ideas in their constitution that don't work. Amendments allow for changes to be made to the Constitution. However, there are some important aspects that need to be nailed down before they can be made. Consider, how are amendments supposed to be brought up to the group? How far in advance should the group be notified there will be amendments proposed to the group? What is the quorum of the vote? What percentage of members need to be present in order to make an appropriate vote? A typical quorum for amendments to the Constitution is about 2/3 of the membership, just as a guideline for you to use. And how many of those members need to be there to approve of the change? Is it a simple majority, 11 out of 20 members in favor, or a 3/4 vote, or like 15 out of 20? It's totally up to you. And yeah, so that's basically how the important things to include in a constitution when you are building it. So thank you for watching this presentation of constitution building by student activities and involvement. We can be reached at the email of involvement@uw.edu or by phone at 262-472-6217, or you can also stop by our office in UC 146. Thank you.